Welcome back, maniacs. We got another one coming at you today. This time we're getting deep into the nerdery. We're going to be able to have YouTube song requests via either command or channel point reward, your preference. In order to do that, we need a few things. We've got to download a YouTube desktop media player, which the link is down in the description. Then we also have to set up essentially a cloud app through Google. We're going to walk through the process for doing that. And then lastly, we're going to import the Streamer.bot code, plug everything in, click run, and bada bing, bada boom, we're going to have shiny new song requests via YouTube Music. Sit back, shut up, and follow the clicks. Alright, now our next step is going to be to open up Google Chrome or your preferred web browser and copy and paste the GitHub link that is down in the description. You should see version 2.0.0 RC.5. This is release candidate 0.5, meaning it's not quite version 2 yet, but it's getting close. Everyone here is using Windows, so we're going to go down to the setup.exe and click on it to download. You'll see it go down into your downloads folder here. Once there, click on it again. Windows protects your PC. This is expected. Press more info and click run anyway. Promise you it is a nice clean program. If you click run, it's going to install the necessary components and launch the app for you. After you launch the app, make sure you click sign in. This step's kind of important. Click on your Google account that you'll be using in the next step. Type in your password. Ensure that once you're signed in, you see your icon up here, and any of your playlists that you already have should show up. That means you're signed in. We're going to minimize that. Now that we have that out of the way, we're going to go to the next link in the description, which is console.cloud.google.com. You'll see I already have an app here, so we're going to create a new one just to walk through it. Clicking on new project. I'm going to name mine YouTube Music test video. No organization, because it's just me. Clicking create. Waiting for this notification to say that it is created. And it is created, so now select the project. And now we're in YouTube Media Test Video, or YouTube Music, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. We're going to go to APIs and Services. Alright, once the APIs and Services, we'll see the Enable APIs and Services up here. So click on that. And this is the API library. We already know what we're using. Here is going to be the YouTube Data API version 3. So click on it and press Enable. This just allows our app to access this data. Yay, now we've got the Data API version 3. From here, we're going to go over to credentials. And you'll see we don't have any credentials in here yet, so we need to create some credentials. Step 1, press create credentials. We're going to do an API key to start. Now at this point, it'd be helpful to open up a blank Word document so that you can copy these over and use them later. So I copied it, and I'm going to put that under API key, and then you'll see I got spots for client secret, client ID, and playlist ID, which we'll use them momentarily. OAuth 2.0, we don't have anything, but we do need it. So we're going to create OAuth client ID next. Let's first configure our consent screen. This is pretty self-explanatory. Click on it. It's going to be external, and then press create. App name, I just call it Music Player. This is just going to show up when you click to log in. It'll say Music Player, so then click your email. None of this has to matter. And then developer contact, you also have to fill in, so put your same email here. And then save and continue. Now we've got our consent screen, scopes. We don't have anything on here yet, so we're going to save and continue. Actually, we need to add a scope. I apologize. And we want, let's search for YouTube here. And we want manage your YouTube account to be selected. We'll put upload because there's a future video I'm going to do on uploading clips directly to YouTube, and this will make your life easier. And really we'll go with YouTube data, third-party link creator. Not that we necessarily need it, but... And lastly, why not? We'll go with the YouTube partner. Again, won't need it for this particular project, but we might need it for a later one I want to do. Click update, and all of our scopes are included. Now we're going to go back to credentials, create credentials again, and now we can create our OAuth client ID. Application type, this is very important. You need to click web application. It's the very first one. Name, again, I just call it music player. Now the redirect URIs, I use 2 of them. First one being, and you'll see that they're actually the same, with port 1444, and then another one going to localhost with port 1444. 127.0.0.1 and localhost are the same. It's just kind of a little bit of redundancy there. Click create. Let it think for a sec, and now we get a client ID and a client secret. Take your text document, Word document, wherever you had here, copy the client ID, and put it in the client ID. And then the client secret, we're going to copy this and put it in the client secret. This is just going to make it easier when we get to the Streamer.bot step to have one place to kind of get all of our information from. Now that that's done, that's all we have to do as far as creating the console app. So the next step is going to be go to music.youtube.com, and under your playlist, create a new playlist. I'll call mine Streaming Test. You can make it public, unlisted, or private. I did mine private just because the way I set it up is you have the option to delete videos off it after they play or keep them on there. And if you're a person that wants to keep the videos on there that are requested, then it could get pretty lengthy, and I don't know that you want the entire world looking at it, but it's totally up to you. So again, I made mine private, press create. After you press create, it brings you to the page for your playlist. You need to look up in the web browser and copy everything after the browse /. You see mine there, I'm going to copy it. And lastly, I'm going to put it on playlist ID. This playlist that we just created is what we're going to use as our placeholder for taking the song request through our application. Very important, this playlist ID is correct, otherwise you're going to get errors when trying to add and subsequently delete. All right, now that that's all set up, we're going to minimize it and head on over to Streamer.bot. Once we're in Streamer.bot, we're going to press import, and you can get the import file from the Ko-Fi link that is also down in the description. Drag and drop the import file right into the import string box. You'll see that it includes 16 actions as well as 13 commands. We will press import, letting you know everything's going to be set to default. That's okay. In order to get around this, we need to go to our commands. You'll see YouTube Music Controls, 13 commands. And we're going to click on the top one and then shift click. Oops, I guess we can't. Let's see. We can right click on the group name and then enable all. Now the commands are enabled and we press save. Going into YouTube Music Setup. This is pretty self-explanatory here. Slide this over and get our text document that had all of the pertinent secret, client ID, etc., etc. So first we're copying the API key. Back at it. First one is client ID. So we're going to do our client ID in the first box. Double click where it says your client ID, click OK. And there it is. API key, next one is client secret. Double click, paste your client secret. OK. Next one is API key, so let's copy the API key. Double click, paste it. OK. And then the last one is your playlist ID. Just know that sometimes your playlist ID will have a hyphen or something leading or trailing, and that's okay. Make sure you include that. It needs the entire playlist ID. And then this last value, like I said, is delete songs. So if you want to get a song request, add it to that playlist, and then after it's played, delete it back off the playlist, put yes. If you want to get your song request for the entire stream and just keep accumulating them on your playlist, then put no, and they'll all stay on there. There are advantages to doing this, and that is that every time you delete it, it costs 50 quota units. So if you have a very long stream or a lot of song requests, you might run into a rate limit. However, if you don't anticipate having a couple hundred songs added and deleted over the course of one stream, then you're okay because your rate limit exceeds, or your rate limit resets every 24 hours. Again, I keep mine set to yes. Now we're going to click save. We're not going to run this command yet because we need to go to the YouTube Music Desktop app first and check something. Click on the gear and then go to integrations. And we're going to go companion server on, allow browser communication, and enable companion authorization. I'm going to delete this real quick because I've already got it in here and I want to do it fresh. So now you got 5 minutes from the time you click here to the time you run the setup command. All right, before we run the setup command, there's one other thing that I forgot. We need to head back over to console.cloud.google, click on whatever. We need to get to the OAuth consent screen. And on the OAuth consent screen, we need to add a test user. Here is where we're going to put your email address that is signed in to the YouTube Music app. Once you type it in there correctly, press save. Apparently press save twice, and then you'll see yourself listed under test users here. Now you can close out of that. Go back. We're going to ensure that our timer is still going for our 5 minutes. There we go. Now save Streamer.bot, open up the Streamer.bot chat, and type YTM setup. Here we go. Now we can collect, you see music players, what we put in earlier. Select your appropriate account. Google hasn't verified the app. That's okay. We know that because we just created the app. Press continue. And then it's saying that it wants to access your account to do these things. We know because we made the app. So press continue again. And you'll be hit with this awesome screen that's got my face on it because I'm self-righteous and big-headed. You don't need to copy this or anything. You can just close it. Now you'll see we also got a pop-up for the companion authorization request. Just press allow here. And we are all set up. We can verify that by pressing on the gear again, going back to integrations, and you'll see Mustache Maniac 2.0. Your screen is also going to say Mustache Maniac 2.0 because I'm the one that built the and that's just what I hard-coded. Now everything is set up, tied up, and associated as it should be. Nerd alert! We're about to talk about some nerdy shit. A little bit of C#, a little bit on the methodology, on why I did it and how I did things, and then we get back to actually testing what this thing does. So, to start out our little chit-chat here, we're going to go to the setup. And you'll notice that there's basically 2 blocks of code in here. The first one being the execute the code for the YouTube. This entire block does all of the stupid things that are required to get the YouTube access token, as well as the initial refresh token. The way that Google's API is set up, you get an access token, and the access token is good for 60 minutes from issuance. So then you conversely need a refresh token that you have to send to get a new access token 60 minutes later, or within the next 60 minutes. The second block of code here is the desktop initialization. This is the stuff that is required for the authentication with the YouTube Music Desktop app. Version 2.0, which the pre-release is what we're currently using on that app, does have a little bit of authentication. This just automates it all for you. That's why you get the little access code popping up on the screen and you click allow saying, yeah, it essentially does all the hard work of sending off one key, getting another, sending it back, and saying we're good. The next thing in the commands here, you'll see do not touch, but this is the auto runner. It does come default with the timed action disabled. Apparently exporting timed actions don't work. What we'll have to do is go in and set this to 6 seconds. But what this does is every 6 seconds, it checks the current song. It then says, is the current song the same that it was 6 seconds ago? If yes, then pretty much do nothing. If no, then continue on down with the rest of these checks. One of the checks being, do you have delete songs enabled? Yes or no? If yes, then you're going to do the YouTube delete song call, and it'll go through and delete the song by way of the YouTube API. If no, then you're just going to skip that. If the song is different than it was 6 seconds ago, then it's going to make a third API call to another place in order to get the album and the album artwork. That's completely pointless right now in its current version, but if you want to enable like a now playing widget or an overlay that shows your current artist, album, song title, I had to tie in something else since YouTube does not pull album information on about 90% of its songs. So this way I take the artist and the song, I search a different database and return those variables to be used later. You'll see in your variables, down here we've got the control token, all that boring stuff. Once we actually get a song, it'll show in here the album, the song, the artist, and then the URL to the album cover. Again, you can use them for whatever you want, absolutely nothing if you want to, or if you'd like for a little now playing widget, that'll come in handy. The YouTube music controls, very similar to how I set up the Govee controls. I've got one giant block of code, and then I have separate call methods for each one of the actual controls. So pausing, playing, muting, unmuting, skipping, etc., etc. Them are all done in this same block of code, and you'll look down here, these are all just execute methods. So they're calling into this main block of code that says do not touch. And then lastly, we've got the actual song request. Currently, this is tied to the command !add song. Essentially what it does is it takes the raw input from add song, and then it searches YouTube for it in layman's terms. I've got a couple of checks in place as far as just checking the music category with category ID 10 here, and then I've got adding official audio to the end, trying to ensure that you get official audio results. Not always the case, but it works out most of the time. Continuing down, it checks and makes sure that the searched song is not already on the current playlist, and if it is, then it's just going to say, hey, it's already on the playlist. If it's not, then it's going to add it to the playlist. That's a brief, very broad summary of the code included with this. That took me way too long to do and way too little to explain. But without further ado, we're going to start adding some songs and testing this out. Alright, for those that stuck around for the nerd alert, greatly appreciate it. Those of you that just skipped over that because you don't care about anything, you just want to see how this works, welcome back. We're going to get into adding a few songs, controlling the music player by way of commands, and then call it a day. The first thing we want to do is go back to Streamer.bot. All of this are disabled by default, so we got to right-click, group, enable all. Now they're all enabled. Yay, that's fun. The one thing that we also have to do under auto runner, you'll see it's set to a timed action and it's unknown. The timer does not import with the action. So double click on here, nothing. So create a timer. I'm going to call mine YouTube music player. Actually, I'm going to call it auto runner because that's what the action is named. Set this timer. I do 6 seconds, but it has to be anything over 5 seconds. If you do more than 5 seconds, then it's going to get rate limited on the YouTube Music Desktop API. In layman's term, it no worky if you do less than 5 seconds. So do 6, be safe. There, click OK. Now we got our timer going. Also want to double click. Okay, it is still showing excluded from action history. Otherwise, you're going to have this clogging it up every 6 seconds. Go ahead and save so we don't forget about that. All right, so now that we have the timer running for every 6 seconds, we're going to go ahead and add some songs and play it and had some fun. Fun fact, you'll probably have to close out of YouTube Desktop and then open it back up if you'd like to see your newly created playlist over here. So, if we click on our streaming test, which is the one we made for this video, we'll see the first song I added was Kiss with Ted Nugent because it's funny. Spot it out, says, look, it's #1 in the queue, yay! We'll add another one. Since this was my wife and I's wedding song, put it on here. Oh, look at that. It's been added to the list and it's currently #2. Add another song for Rollin' by Limp Bizkit because I love Limp Bizkit. Okay, look at that. Life is good. We've got all these things. All the songs are in the queue and we couldn't be happier. So, songs are in the queue. If we go back to our library, click a different playlist, and then go back to it, it'll show you all the songs added in here. Awesome, right? YouTube Music Play. That's how we're going to get playing.
Engineered for the toughest conditions to deliver the ultimate clean. Take the Finish Ultimate Challenge.
Chicken in a pouch?
Yep, chicken and lots of flavors. 10+ grams of protein per pouch.
Voices in my head get trapped in a war inside my own skin. They're pulling me undone.
Telegram from Mr. Billy.
If you wanted to see the current song, that's the song.
Yeah, big old wet one. Hey!
Pause it. If we wanted to skip it, you already seen. We can skip it. We can go to the next one on the playlist this time. This is playing, and notice in the background here, that was really loud, and I apologize. What I wanted to show you was, now that we actually have music playing, we've got the album, artist, and then the album art. Pretty freaking cool. Once we go back to this, because I did select delete songs, when we click on this playlist, we're going to notice that Kiss is gone. Why? Because it was already on the playlist and it already played, and that's why we have it set up. If you'd have clicked no on here, or typed in no, I apologize, the song would still be on the playlist. Pretty awesome though. We're going to skip this song again. What happens once our playlist is empty and it played all the songs? It's just going to go through and play the suggestions. And now you'll see in the up next column, it's just going to keep running down this list until you get another song request. When you get another song request, you're going to manually have to go back to your library and click on your queue or your created playlist to select it though. Variables again. Here we go. Somebody told me it's the album name, artist, and the song. Now, the reason that I pointed these out is because if you wanted a now playing widget or something to show up on screen with your current song information, you can pull these global variables into it. You can use this value or this variable name, YouTube Music Album Art, in an OBI or OBS browser source, and you'd have the album art. You can use the album name, artist, and song in GDI text sources, and then they will constantly update, well, every 6 seconds, or when the artist changes, it'll update, and then you'll have a nice, pretty little view of what songs are playing for your viewers. Some of the other functionality that I did not quite cover was you can see what is currently in the queue. Right now there are no songs in the queue because our playlist is all deleted and empty. If you add songs to it, it'll tell you exactly how many songs are in the queue and list them out with that command. Additionally, you can do YouTube Music up next. And that's going to tell you how many songs are in the queue. And up next is officially yours. So this will essentially goes off of what was in your actual playlist. So it's kind of bad data if your playlist has been emptied out. As long as there are actually songs in your playlist, and this will update accordingly and say one in the queue up next correctly. This was the last song that was in our queue, which is why it shows it here, and there were 4 songs. This will always be weird if your playlist is totally empty. But other than that, that's most of the functionality that is offered by this pretty sweet extension. We'll get it submitted to Streamer.bot and see if we can get it officially approved. And I'll continue to offer support and looking for improvements as time goes on. Well, that's it, maniacs. Wasted a good part of your day. Took me a long time to code all that between me and fighting with ChatGPT, because we all know I'm not a coder. However, it's done. It's out there. We're going to put it out in cyberspace. Y'all use it, break it, come to me with your problems. Hopefully we can get everything figured out. I will look for improvements and am looking for the YouTube Music Desktop app to get pushed into the full version 2 so we can get plugins like ad blocker, videos off and or picture-in-picture mode, things like that. But there's a lot of possibilities now that we have the OAuth authentication piece figured out that I can later integrate into as far as watching YouTube videos with your viewers as a channel point redeem is an idea I've got coming up. Other than that, make sure that you are joining the Discord if you need some help. Drop in comments on this video. Let me know how it is or what improvements you want or if you need some help. Check me out on Twitch over at twitch.tv/mustache_maniac. Swing by the Ko-Fi. You needed to be there anyway to get the import code for any of this to work. It is free 99 as always. However, tipping would be greatly appreciated. Be kind of freaking cool. Not required. Otherwise, let me know what I can do in the future as far as what kind of content you'd like to see, as well as make sure you share this with a couple friends you think might enjoy song requests by way of YouTube Music. I will see y'all next time, and thank you for wasting some of your day with me.